Hey, good morning again, you guys. Justice Warriors, what's happening? My goodness, what a weird juxtaposition with these two cases. Um, I'd like to start out, as usual, by saying that everything I say is my opinion only, purely for the sake of speculation, conversation, hopefully education, and possibly a little bit entertaining, although this crap is not the least bit entertaining to me. It is outright devastating and disgusting. So I just want to jump right in. I always have my notes and I've always got good questions or what I think are good questions. Here's one for you. What the fuck do these people do for work? What the fuck do these people do for work? The grown-ups, the quote unquote adults. What do they do for work? And what do they do for housing? What are these 18-year-old boys doing for housing? What are these 16-year-old girls doing for housing? Is the ex-husband, the deputy sheriff of Nevada County, is Trinity's mom like crashing at his house? And so Trinity didn't want to crash there. So she was crashing at her aunt's. Like, why in the world would she be having a slumber party at her aunt's? Okay. Anyway, let's just get right into it. Hey, Maud, thank you for being here. She says, I'll just cover this part early. Please remember to like the live if you do. If you don't, then don't. Share and subscribe if you feel so moved. I just want to hop right into it. I have my phone here. I want to start by reading to you the post that Ashley Bajorkland put up. All right, it's kind of long. Are you ready? Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. I just want these girls to rest in peace. I want these teenage girl deaths to stop. It's not okay. There's nothing about it that's okay. Anyway, let me start by reading this post and be ready. It's kind of long. First of all, I want to start by saying thank you to all of the kind souls out there for your love and respect and kind words during the most tragic time of our lives. We did everything in our power that any parent or family member would do in our situation to find our sweet girl. Unfortunately, it was too late, and that is something we will have to live with. That is something that is never going to go away. And that is something that is going to leave a hole in our hearts for the rest of our lives. Okay, she literally said that is something 3 times. So that's probably a typo, but I hope this answers some of your questions. Wednesday the 9th, I got home from Sarah's house. And let me just add, that's probably a typo. That is something that we have to live with. That is something that is never going to go away. And that is something that is going to leave a hole in our hearts. Okay, it might not be a typo, but it's a weird way to write either way. I hope this answers some of your questions. Wednesday the 9th, I got home from Sarah's house where I was hanging out making Christmas signs. I left her house around 3:45 to 4 o'clock, where I headed home to meet Logan, who was coming to bring me dinner. When I pulled into the driveway, I seen Trinity's car at that point. I had remembered that she texted me about a week previously asking if she could have a sleepover with her girlfriend. When I got into the house, the girls had thrown their stuff on the floor in the living room and they were sitting out back, and I had come outside and told them they need to come inside and pick up their stuff, that my living room was not their bedroom. At that point, they both came in, folded their clothes and whatnot, and stacked it on the couch. Trinity asked me if her and her friend could make some popcorn, and I said yes. I got it out of the cupboard for them. She put it in the microwave and cooked it. After that, her and her friend came back outside and were hanging out on my porch. I went into my room, drew a bath, sat on my bed, ate some food with Logan. I got into the bath. Trinity had texted me while in the bath asking me if I had any paintbrushes because her and her friend wanted to do watercolor. I called her and told her that I had some in the shed. I told her where they were and hung up the phone. I was in the bath for probably about another 30 to 45 minutes. During all of that time, Logan was with me in the bathroom. I got out of the bath, got dressed. Logan and I went and sat on the back porch. Trinity and Hannah were sitting on the other side of my porch. I told them both to come over and sit in front of my room so they did not disturb my roommate. The girls got up, came and sat down with me. They were curled up. Trinity was wearing my robe. She had a blanket over her, and her friend was sitting next to her wearing my big, fluffy black jacket. Trinity wanted to show me the watercoloring pictures they had done, so she asked me to hand her the book. At that point, we spent a little while going through her pictures, and she was explaining to me what each of them meant. Her and her friend were curled up, pretty mellow for the been pretty mellow for the most part. Trinity asked me if she could braid my hair. So we went into my room and we all sat on my bed, all of us being Logan, me, Trin, and her friend. Trinity parted my hair and started to French braid. Okay, it's written all weird. And started doing two French braids, only she thought it would be funny to tie my hair in a knot to hold in the braid. I told her to stop putting knots in my hair and get it out, and she thought it was funny, and she started giggling and said that she couldn't, the knot was too big. At that point, I told her to get out of my room, go to the bed. She was done. Go to bed. She was done braiding my hair if she was going to put knots in it. I got up, went into the bathroom, and brushed my hair out. Trin and her friend went out to the living room, turned on the TV, and got comfy on the couch. I texted her, telling her I'm sorry for getting frustrated and I loved her. Then I had texted her when I lay down, asking her to please turn down the TV. She texted me back, asking if it was still too loud. I told her to please turn it down a little bit more. At that point, I fell asleep, and that was probably around 9:45. Logan was in bed next to me watching TV, starting to doze off as well. Hannah says it was around 10:15 or so. They went outside on the porch to smoke weed. One of the girls had brought a bong over, and that is what they were smoking out of. Friend says that when the lighter went off, Trinity got really scared and started to freak out. At 10:30, she opened my back door, yelling that the house was going to blow up. At that point, I jumped out of bed, ran out into the living room because I thought the house was on fire because I have an open place fireplace. The house was fine. I was in a daze and very confused. I walked back into my bedroom where the back door was open. Logan was on the porch and I could see Trinity. I told her she needs to get her butt inside and go to bed. She was yelling, speaking nonsense that I did not understand. And she told Logan she could see radiation to come outside. She would show him. Logan at that point went into the house, put his shoes and sweater on, and went back outside. That was within seconds. He came back in the house minutes later and said to me he could not find her. I got out of bed, got dressed, and we started searching the property, at which point we still could not find her. So I called her mom probably about 30 minutes within all this happening. Her mom was up to my house within 15 to 20 minutes max. Mind you, she lives down Highway 49. As soon as she got here, she got out of the car, started screaming Trinity's name and searching. At that point, I called 911. The cops were up here within 30 minutes. After they showed up, search and rescue was up here within an hour. Remember, within that hour, we did not stop looking. We were searching. Everybody that was here was looking for her. We were walking through people's yards, screaming her name, searching my property, my outbuildings, my chicken coops. We drove around the block. We drove up and down Bitney Springs. We drove down the dirt road that goes past my house down towards Excelsior. We did not stop looking for our sweet girl until she was found. For those of you who are making speculations, I understand everybody has a lot of questions and people want to know why we didn't put out to the public that these kids had done drugs. We were advised by authority that telling the public that she and her friend had snuck and done acid was not going to help the situation. You have to understand, people have judgment, and we were not looking for that. All we wanted to do was find her safe and bring her home. Telling people she was on drugs could have put her in further danger if she was wandering the streets and picked up by somebody who wanted to do further harm or influence her in a bad way. People want to make speculations about her biological father's podcast. Well, why don't you ask yourself why her bio father is not in her life before you want to point fingers? I'm not here to fight and I'm not here to argue, but please don't be a follower. Do your own homework, do your research. Do your homework, do your research. The truth will come out. We have no problem sharing with the community what truly happened as soon as we get back the toxicology and the autopsy. I really needed everybody to understand that her boyfriend Francis did not give her drugs. He does not sell drugs, exclamation point. I think that's the first exclamation point, by the way. He is an amazing kid. He was Trinity's love. They were best friends. He was her person and she was his. He is going through more pain than any of you will ever have to know in a lifetime. So please try to have respect and the kindness in your heart that he deserves. Andrea wants her daughter to be remembered for who she was, and she was the most amazing human. Another exclamation point, an amazing human is in all caps. She loved her family so much. Her mom was one of her very best friends. What teenager has pictures of their mom in their room on their desk? Question mark. Trinity was an artist and started drawing and painting at a very young age. I think it gave her a sense of peace and a way of expressing herself. Trinity also loved to do hair. She was the most incredible braider I had ever met. She taught herself how to do that on her dolls and watching videos. She didn't always love being a big sister, but she was always there no matter what when her little sister needed her, and she loved her fiercely. She enjoyed going to the river and hiking. She wasn't the kind of girl who wanted to be friends with everybody, but when her soul resonated with yours, she held you close, cared for you like nobody ever would, and was a true friend. Trinity loved music, dancing, making funny TikToks, even though some of them were sometimes a little odd. What more can you expect from a teenager who's going through hormonal change? Trinity enjoyed babysitting on her free time to save up for special trips. Francis and her were planning to go to Hawaii together, and so she was saving every dollar to walk hand in hand with her first and only love on the beach. Please remember Trinity for who she was and not the stupid childish mistake she chose to make. Kids are kids and they're not advanced enough to know the outcome of their actions. Unfortunately, her mistake cost her her life and let us all with a hole and left us all with a hole that will never be filled and a love that we will never know again. Okay. Wow, that was long. Let me see what my mod just said. These teenage boys sound like real gems of humanity, and for that we can thank them. The teenage girls just keep unaliving themselves. I know, it's just outlandish how they try to sell it like it's no big deal. If mother appeared ASAP, why did she post her life being perfect while Miss Trinity Backus was missing before being found? That's a good question. Recently, here, let me pin that one. Okay, I'm going to read that one again. If mother appeared ASAP, why did she post her life being perfect while Miss Trinity Backus was missing and before being found? So Trinity went missing, it seems, on Wednesday the 9th at about 10:30 at night, right? According to that write up and according to everything else that we've heard, I think. So she was found Friday. So there was no Amber Alert. There were many sightings. The 911 call as was actually made close to 11:15, I think, the first one. I'm going to read a few more of your comments here. Wow, that whole statement was a bit messed up. Oh, my brain. Phantasmic Ether says, what the hell was Trinity's mistake? Going to her aunt's house? Yeah. I like the way she called her stupid. I mean, I don't like it. I'm sorry, I'm being sarcastic. But saying her stupid actions or stupid mistakes reminds me a lot of Jagger calling Kylie stupid. There's a lot of parallels. I'm going to list them. I have listed some. There's probably twice as many as what I've listed. According to their story, but the timeline is only coming from one source. She was at Sarah's making Christmas signs. I thought she said she was out to dinner. Or am I wrong? Right, Cindy Thompson, good questions. I think that there's a possibility that some of the information gets contorted with the telephone game. I also think that there's possibility that she's changing her story. I don't understand making Christmas signs on November 9th. What kind of Christmas signs? Signs for her house? Signs for a community event? I mean, that's just odd. So I have a few more questions. My biggest question or my biggest observation that I want to reiterate to you guys from yesterday is that Sunshine Fowler, who is Frances Fowler's mother, and Francis Fowler was Trinity Backus's boyfriend, who had his other girlfriend, Paisley McConan Woodard, die a year prior, almost exactly a year and 10 days, I think. So Sunshine Fowler was at the celebration of life, right, for Kylie. And she may have even officiated it. We'll have to look into that. So a few things that I looked up. I looked up what skate parks are in the area, and there's 4 when you count in that area in Nevada County, basically, when you count the 2 that are in Truckee and the 2 that are in Grass Valley. So again, the skate parks are probably going to be the big social meetup and definitely the drug scene, right? Always 3 sides to a story, one side, the other side, and then the truth. Yep. The victim shaming and blaming is disgusting. I want to highlight that one because it's too easy. It's such an easy cop out, you know. She's dead, so she can't defend herself and it's her fault. And no, I'm sorry, she's a child. Okay? If you had a puppy dog and your puppy dog got out and ran into the street and died, would you say that that was your puppy dog's fault when your dog got hit by a car, when you weren't able to keep your dog safe? I would say that that was my fault. And, you know, I've been close to that situation many times. And then I got the fences put up. When I first got that little dog that I showed you guys a few days ago on Sunday morning, that was the worst. She would get out. And of course, it's not her fault. She's a freaking puppy. That's not her fault. It was my fault that it took me so long to get a gate. And actually, I got 2 gates. And, you know, she's been safe ever since. But that's not the puppy's fault. If the puppy's going to run into the street, that's a puppy. You can't blame a puppy. Are you freaking kidding me? What really scares me with both of these cases is that these 2 16-year-old deceased females have younger siblings. that are in the same care, supervision, if you can call it that, or lack thereof, that they died in. So, yeah, yeah, something needs to be done. This reminds me of Carly Gousset. Anyone remember her? Never solved, never found her. Any word from the friend yet? I don't know if Carly Goose, if I'm saying that right. I don't know if that's somebody in California or Florida. The name kind of rings a bell. So another similarity that these cases both have, Kylie and Trinity's, is a lot of ex-boyfriends. Kylie's ex-boyfriend Jagger, and it sounds like Trinity was in a solid, stable relationship with her boyfriend, Francis Fowler. Um, the mom sounds like Andrea Stanio, sounds like she was in a very unstable relationship with Christopher Stanio, the ex-husband that she allegedly separated and divorced from 4 years ago. So it brings to my mind, where did these people live? Where did Andrea Stanio live with her daughter Trinity Backus? Did they have their own place? Did they have an apartment? Was Were they living with the ex-stepfather, with Christopher Stanio? And what about work? Like, does work mean anything to any of these people? Obviously, we know Christopher Stanio is a deputy for the Nevada County Sheriff. Andrea Stanio is a fitness expert, personal trainer, I'm going to guess, which, you need a full-time job usually, pay your bills in California especially, but anywhere, whether you're in the cheapest part of the country or the most expensive part of the country, most adults must have jobs. Am I right? Am I correct? I mean, I work more than full time on top of doing this. My husband works more than full time. And, we're doing all right, but you got to keep up. You got to keep up with your bills. You got to keep up with the insane prices of everything going up and up and up. Squirrel girl crime talk. Hey, girlfriend, how are you this morning? Thank you so much for your commentary and recap of new knowledge gained through all the amazing research happening. This is such a blessing to me. You are so welcome. And thank you, Squirrel Girl. You are doing amazing, amazing research. You and Squirrels on Fire and Kevin Neese, and I'm sure a ton of others. It's hard to keep up with all of us, isn't it? So thank you so much for joining, all of you. The adults are responsible for these children. Why is this being swept under the blanket by law enforcement? Exactly. I'm going to highlight that because these are children. And like I said, there's other children that are still in the same predicament with these same parents. And people need to be held accountable. It's not about wanting to blame. It's about wanting to have accountability and have righteousness. Things need to be set straight. The dangers need to be diminished. It's a very dangerous world out there. How many of you guys have heard me say that before again and again? The simplest things can be so dangerous. So I have a lot of questions, but one of my biggest questions right now, or a couple of my biggest questions, boil down to: what is the housing situation? Who lives where? What are their addresses? Where was Trinity living? Where is or was her mother living? What about her stepsisters? I think there might be two stepsisters. I'm just really curious how that plays into this, because my question is, why would Trinity ask Ashley to have a sleepover at that house? Why not have a sleepover at her own house or at her friend's house? And the whole story that Ashley gives in that giant declaration to me is just fantastical and ridiculous. There's way too much information. Like, you don't say we were making signs for Christmas. You don't need to give that information out front. You can just say, I was at my friend's house. I was doing a project. I was working on something at my friend's house. Like, those types of specific information where it's irrelevant, and then the lack of the specific information where it's extremely relevant is what raises multiple red flags and makes people point fingers and makes you look guilty, right? All this crap about her bath and her braiding hair, and then what she likes to do and hike and big sister and what? Wait, like, you're just trying to give an explanation of what the heck resulted in this child's death when they're under your roof. I'm not going to say under your supervision because clearly there was no supervision. And she's trying to act like they're what? She's trying to act like the second this girl got out of their sight, they're like, oh my God, where'd she go? Okay. You have a 16-year-old. You're not going to worry in a house if you don't see them. You're not going to worry for like half an hour. You're going to be like, well, they're probably in the bathroom, or they went outside to smoke, or they're hiding in the garage talking to their boyfriend. I mean, who knows? But you're not going to jump like the second they're out of your sight like you would with a baby, right? If you can't see a baby for 2 seconds, you're going to be like, where'd the baby go? And you're going to panic immediately. You're not going to panic immediately with a 16-year-old. Within a few minutes, calling the mom rushing over. The mom's not going to rush over. The mom's just going to be like, oh, well, I'm sure she'll show up. Let me call her. Let me text her. Like, this story is crap. It's absolutely fake. With something going on at Trinity's house and she couldn't sleep at her home, had to go fake auntie's house. Right. I mean, this is pure speculation. 100% speculation, but I'm going to speculate that possibly her mother moved back in with the ex, with Christopher Stanio, and maybe Trinity was not cool with that and she didn't like staying there, so she tried to not stay there. But there were also questions in Kylie's situation if she was uncomfortable staying at her house. Again, pure speculation. Another stepdad. And here we've got one ex-stepdad who is an officer of the law, and another stepdad in Kylie's case who basically provides job security for the law. Justice A to Z, do you have an email that you're willing to share? Yes, it's justiceatooz@gmail.com. Anyone is welcome to email me at any time. I try to respond to as many as I can. I get to read them all, but it is much harder to respond, even though it just takes a second. There's a lot of them. So I try to make sure that I get them all read right away. And I appreciate your emails. So feel free. Just don't feel like I'm blowing you off if I don't respond. I really do appreciate everyone's comments and emails. It's priceless. Let's see, what does Gregory say? Red flag the location of where Logan was every minute. Thank you, Gregory. Yeah, there were so many red flags in there, and I was just trying to read it before, interjecting at each point in time. Yes. And then Logan's sitting on the bed with her and two teenage girls. What the fuck? That's not right. I don't care if it's innocent. I don't care if it's just hair braiding. You don't have a man sit on a bed with his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend and two teenage girls. You just don't. That's outrageous. That's insane. So is she just trying to cover for any potential investigation, as if there were going to be anything, that there was all four of their DNA in the bed? What the fuck, man? That's creepy as fuck. And yeah, Logan was just hanging out in the bathroom with her for 45 minutes while she was in the bath. My first thought was like, well, what were the two of you doing in the bathroom for 45 minutes? Or is that just complete bullshit? My guess is the latter. I went to sleep listening to Squirrels on Fire. I woke up something around 1 or 2 a.m. and there was a sock singing love songs. Crazy. What happens in the squirrel's nest stays in the squirrel's nest. Oh my goodness. That is nuts. 166 watching, 42 likes. Let's give Jazz some love. It's free, lovely warriors. Thank you for the reminder. Apparently, she took off all of her clothes because hypothermia and then crawled under the brush. How would they know that before autopsy? All right, Jade, you hit the nail on the head. That was the next thing I wanted to speak to. So I don't know how many of you guys are aware that the allegation, the story that Ashley has provided is that the mom, Andrea, told her that her ex-husband, Andrea's ex-husband, Christopher Stanio, the deputy sheriff, told Trinity's mother, I know it's impossible to follow. Deputy Stanio told his ex-wife, Andrea Stanio, Trinity's mother, that Trinity was naked when they found her. And this is coming from Ashley, okay? How alarming is that from how many different angles? Honestly, the most alarming, of course, her being unclothed is alarming. Not surprising, but alarming. But an officer of the law does not discuss the details of the case with the family, even if that is his family, maybe especially if that's his family. And he should have been taken off the case. That's a conflict of interest right there. I am so suspicious of Deputy Christopher Stanio. I'm so suspicious of the Nevada County Sheriff Department. So I did a little research, and the only individuals, the only powers of authority that can fire a sheriff are the county supervisors. So, where are these county supervisors and what are they doing about Sheriff Moon and Sheriff Wu? Because these people are out of control. They cannot act as though their teenage girls are disposable and stupid. I don't care if they're stupid, they're teenage girls. They're not disposable. Not saying teenage girls are stupid. Don't take my words out of context. Okay. Um, let's see. Squirrel Girl says, "Why is this New York Post so interested in Trinity's case?" Yeah, that's a good question. There was a New York Post reporter at Kylie's recovery site. Is the New York Post steering narratives? This is a topic to look into. Well, that's a very good question. My first thought is the Catfish Crew. And who owns the New York Post? We've got a lot of heavy hitters in the Truckee area, probably not so much in Nevada City, Grass Valley area. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of nice houses there and a lot of money, but not like the Zuckerberg, Hambrick, Podesta type of money. Big money. Can we flood the supervisors with complaints to get them fired? That's exactly where I was heading with this. So let me highlight that one. Yes. So these supervisors, my only thought, funny, not funny, is the public administrator, the sheriff that's the coroner is also the public administrator. I'm just hoping that county supervisor and public administrator are not one and the same, because that's my first thought. New York Times would be reliable source, and someone on YouTube calls New York Post New York Times. So yeah, those are two different entities. And yeah, the New York Post is probably more like the Sun, like almost like the National Enquirer. And then the New York Times is more like Wall Street Journal, more along those lines of reliability and the standard, the gold standard. Wait till you see the Nevada County supervisors. They look incompetent AF. I listened to a meeting and they seem to be yes men for the projects that didn't listen to the community. Yeah, that's not surprising. And Jen says, so who is above the supervisors? Probably the handbricks. But above the supervisors might be like city council would be my guess. That's usually the end of the line. U.S. Marshals. Yeah. Homeland Security. Have they called Homeland Security yet? We got another missing teenager called Homeland Security. Did they have 45 FBI agents looking for Trinity? Did they have Zuckerberg out there looking for Trinity? These people, man. I want to read a few more of your comments and then wrap it up and get ready for other things of the day and prepare for the afternoon live. Unrobing is typical of hypothermia, but the dogs did lose Trinity's scent just past the gate, which would indicate she was picked up. She could have been S8 and dumped too. Yeah, that's a very loaded comment, Cindy Thompson, and thank you. Also, remember what I was saying about the robe yesterday, if you caught the afternoon live, that Ashley was wearing the robe the next day in the company of biological father's sister, who was at her house and was on the phone with him, telling him that Ashley was wearing that maroon robe that she said Trinity had left the house in. And that was before Trinity was found. That was on the 10th. I'm just devastated for these girls, and it feels like part of a pattern that we're just learning about with the alarming news over the summer with the whole teenager disappearing from a graduation party in the woods, Kylie's case. I think brought national attention on something that has been going on for years, right? I mean, that's what we've all been discovering. So here, even with the national attention, it's continuing. And about this Frances Fowler, about the mom Andrea has gone to bat for the boyfriend, saying how he's the sweetest thing in the world and he would never deal drugs. And my first thought with both of these situations is that drugs are central and that nobody wants to piss off the dealers and nobody wants their source of scoring their own drugs to dry up. So they try to protect their own sources. So, I mean, this is big business. This is huge, huge business. It's just unbelievable. And human life is not important, it seems, in this area where drugs are huge. The cartels, it's all about the cartels. I know that sounds, you use that word and it sounds crazy. So there you have it. Call me crazy. Let's see. So back to the question, why is removing clothes typical of hypothermia? So when a person is freezing to death, first of all, they can't use their extremities. Their extremities lock up, so they're not going to be able to take their clothes off. I think in the breakdown of the process, when you're freezing to death right before it's fatal, you feel like you're on fire, sort of like when you have a flu and you're shivering, but you're sweating. But real true hypothermia, you're not going to be able to use your arms and especially your hands. I mean, if anybody has experienced extreme cold, I mean, hopefully most of us haven't. Unfortunately, I have once in the snow. It was probably like 20 degrees and I was just severely underdressed, Christmas caroling of all things, with my friends who were smarter than I and were not underdressed. it's really scary. Hypothermia is not something to mess around with. Francis was in Trev's live this morning, and he was talking to him, telling him he needs to get some help because this is heavy. Wow, that's interesting, Kiki Ray. Thank you. I'm going to highlight that. Yeah, Francis. Sorry, I was trying to pin your message and I almost hit report. That's crazy that it's so close. Like the top one is pin message, and then right below that is report. Come on, that's crazy. To abs- absolutely accidentally report somebody would be awful. so, so yeah, Francis uh, was actually allegedly present when Paisley McCone Woodard was hit by the car. So I had said that yesterday in one or both of my lives, and somebody came into the comments and said, no, he wasn't there. So I went back and looked at my sources, and every article that I found online that mentions, they don't all mention a second party that was skateboarding with her, but the ones that do mention that that was her boyfriend. So the other information that I had that may be inaccurate was that Madison Hannah Marie Felhaber, who is the person who was 18 years old at the time, who killed Paisley in a hit and run and turned herself in 12 hours later, I had gotten information that Madison was Francis Fowler's ex-girlfriend, but somebody said that that's false information, fake news. so, so I don't know. I don't know Madison Hannah Marie Felber. It seems pretty apparent to me that she's well connected because she was charged with a felony and given nothing but an ankle bracelet, basically. So there's kids circulating a petition trying to get justice for Paisley still 12 months later. And as we know, all of us adults, grown-ups know that justice takes time. It doesn't happen quickly. So it's been 1 year and 2 weeks since the death of Paisley, and perhaps there still can be some justice for Paisley. Madison Hannah Marie Felhaber is the one who was driving that car, who did the hit and skip. And then Hannah Harding is the friend that was with Trinity the night that Trinity died at Ashley's house. So two different Hannahs. I just wanted to specify that. And I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me. I just appreciate you guys to the moon and back. Sunset Sally Salty Sage says clothing doesn't just disappear, even if it was predation. Animals don't eat clothing. Yeah, good point. The same people who have been caught lying, calling out fake news. Where is my bullshit flag? Exactly. I know when I use that term fake news, that's what I was thinking of too. Moxley says, was it Trin's mom or Andrea? Andrea is Trinity's mom, and then Ashley is the fake aunt. Was it Trin's mom or Andrea that said Paisley's sister gave Trinity the acid? Yes, 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 yes. I'm so glad that you made that comment. Was it rock bottom for these people? So, yes, Trinity's mother, Andrea, and or Ashley are alleging that Paisley's sister provided Trinity with the LSD. I don't know what Paisley's sister's name is, if anybody has that. Trinity's mom said it. And doesn't dad have a girlfriend, Paisley? That I don't know. But, I did want to make a comment about how many Nates there were in Kylie's case and how in Trinity's case, it seems like there's a half a dozen women that are of the parents' generation, the fake aunts, that all their names begin with an A. I need to email you some information on the Astra community and specifically Sunshine Fowler, a pagan priestess. All right. And I'll say my email one more time, which is Justice ATOOZ @gmail.com. Didn't fake Auntie mention something about Trinity being his first girlfriend? Different wording, but I thought I heard you read it. I think that the words were something about Francis Fowler being Trinity's first love. I don't remember if it was worded that Trinity was his first love. So, for those who don't know, Paisley and Trinity are complete identical twins, in my opinion. Looking at photographs of them, it's hard to tell the two apart. They're both very, very cute redheads, and Paisley was 15 when she died, and Trinity 16 when she died. Both were in a stable relationship with Francis Fowler when they died 12 months and 10 days apart. That needs to be investigated. And I doubt that Shannon Moon and her cohorts are going to be investigating it. It needs to be investigated by U.S. Marshals or federal authorities or something. This is unbelievable. It is not okay to allow people to die like that, especially minors. It's a huge, huge problem. So on that, I mean, stating the obvious, I know you guys know that. I'm going to wrap up. Didn't the female driver have something to do with Francis too? Well, that's what I was mentioning. That is debatable, whether the female driver was an ex of Francis Fowler's. So on that, thanks you guys. Have a fabulous morning. Please take good care of yourself. Think good thoughts about yourself and others. Eat healthy, be healthy, drink your water. I know I need more coffee and then water. Actually, I have tea and I have a confession to make. I put whipped cream in my tea for the first time. It's awesome. Sometimes I put whipped cream in my coffee, not often, but I put it in my tea. Is that so silly? Anyway, I try to stay away from sugar. Keep your protein intake up, your fruits, your veggies, and you know the rest. You know the drill. Get your exercise, get your fresh air, your sunshine, all that good stuff. Thank you kindly. I send love out to all of you, and I will see you again this afternoon, right around 1 o'clock probably. Have a great day. Thanks.